Hey, welcome to episode 2 of the TFM podcast. I'm Marcus, the founder of TFM, and today I'm going to be joined again by Dylan Scott, multiple HYROX Elite 15 athlete, North American champion, and TFM coach. A few days ago, we asked you to send us your questions about HYROX via Instagram. So thanks for all the submissions. We got a lot of questions, and that's what today is all about. We will answer your questions about optimal training for HYROX, important supplements for optimal performance, and more. So if you have any other questions during this episode, feel free to let us know in the comments. And now I would say, let's get started. All right, Dylan, good to have you back. How is it going? How are you feeling? How's the training week going?
Dude, it's good. It's a Friday over here. Earliest morning time for us. A little bit later for you. Just kind of thinking of gearing up for a big workout tomorrow. So trying to recover from some heavy lifting on Wednesday. Legs are still feeling a little bit of it. Cracked off a good run on Monday. Good long tempo session. Feel like a couple of things are falling into place, and right now I've got about 45 days of training left until Amsterdam. So yeah, then after that, we just kind of have to handle our travel and go over there and see what we can do first race of the year. So,
Cool.
but for
So
the
for
most part,
those of the listeners that don't know, you're going to race the Elite 15 race, the first major of the season in Amsterdam.
yeah, that's the game plan. Flights are booked. Um, Work schedule is kind of ironed out to be able to do that. So, yeah, plan is to head over to Amsterdam. I think we'll race on the I think we'll race on the 10th. So I'll leave out on like the 5th or something like that. Try to get over there about 4 days early. Get my body acclimated and ready to go. But I'm excited to get back into racing some high rocks.
Looking forward to the season, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's been watching them all go down in Australia. They've been
Hmm.
having all the fun down under. So
Yep.
we're
Yep.
taking
Yep.
all this in to get after it again.
Season over here starts soon, so let's get ready for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about yourself?
Cool. All good, man. All good. I mean, put things together again. Basically, the best 3-4 weeks of training. Hard to say of my life, but some kind of. So pretty happy with the progress. Little deload week this week, and then try to ramp up things from there again. But I think that brings us to the first questions we got. I mean, as I already mentioned in the intro, today we want to jump into a little Q&A session. We ask people for questions on Instagram, and 2 questions I got have been how your guys' training is structured at the moment and what the goals are for the 24-25 season. So, I mean, we scratched on that already. So maybe it would be cool to start with that. You mentioned already that you prep for the first major of the season in Amsterdam. You are automatically qualified through your win at the North American Championships for all the majors this season. What are your plans for the season? Do you plan to just attack all the 3-4 majors and then hopefully worlds? Do you plan to do other races, or what do you have in mind?
Yeah. So my plan right now is I've got four kind of high roxes that are on the schedule. And there's gonna be roughly a month between each of them. So I'll race Amsterdam to kick the season off in October, and then about a month later, maybe a month and a half later, I'll be down in Dallas. So that'll be in late November. I'll race down there. Then I'll go again at the end of January. I'll race another HYROX in Las Vegas, so that'll be the second major that I'll do. I won't do the second major that's going to be over in Hong Kong. December timeframe, so in between the two HYROXs, I'll probably go down to Florida and race the DecaFit down there. And then I'll come off of that race in January in Vegas, and then I'll come over to Glasgow for the major in March. and we'll see. Hopefully, getting the opportunity to race three majors, I will find myself in the top three at some point, or within the top five with a roll down sort of deal. Um, I mean, I feel like I'm giving myself plenty of opportunities, and I think that from where my fitness is right now, um, hopefully with no injury or any issues like that, if I show up and race to how fit I am and have like just a little bit of luck, 'cause I feel like I just need a little bit of luck, I can land myself in a qualifying spot across three of those majors. And then after that, that might be looking a little too far to look past Glasgow to figure out what I'll do after that. But that'll kind of be the plan. And so the Dallas race will be a race that won't be a major, but it'll still give me an opportunity to have a time on the board within, an age group category, just in case things don't go, because those major races won't count for anything else. So I might as well do some actual open races. And Dallas is looking to be a good lineup anyway. Um,
Okay.
so right now we're coming off of more like off-season training. It hasn't been nearly as many high Roxy Metcons that are in that same like 45 to 80 minute range that I'll talk about. We've got a couple of those in there, but it's been a lot more of like individual like monostructural kind of things or just heavy lifting, and then the occasional touching in on some of the HYROX movements. um, but I'm not going to start blending those together to do what will be my normal kind of HYROX season training until probably I'll start it a little bit in September, sharpen up into the first major. Then I'll do a little bit more of it at the beginning of November, sharpen my way into Dallas. But I don't really like trying to go in and do, because for myself, when I get into high rocks season mode, my big thing is like three hard high rocks workouts a week, that are within that 45 to 80 minute time domain. And mentally getting up for those three times a week when you're going to do pretty much a race level effort is really hard. And you can't do that year round. So at this point of the year, I'm at where I'm doing maybe two a week, maybe even just one, at times, depending on my travel schedule and stuff like that. And just trying not to overburden myself with too much, not just physical stress, but mental stress. Because,
Mhm.
like I've talked about before, when you get those really big workouts on the kind of on the calendar, you're nervous for them because you know how hard they are. And like there have been times where I've had a workout written up for the day that I know I'm gonna do, and I can't focus on anything else because I'm just so like preoccupied mentally with 75 minutes of gutting it out that I'm gonna have to do later that day. That it could be the workout's gonna be at 4:30 in the afternoon, and it's 1 o'clock, and I'm sitting at my desk like trying to be like, dude, stop thinking about that, stop thinking about that. You gotta work right now, and like you have to really fight the kind of anxiety that comes with those hard workouts, and you don't want to be doing that all the time. That's too stressful.
It's mentally and physically super draining, right? And you can't do that all year long, basically. You
No.
can, but going to be pretty tough to do that, to sustain it for 2, 3, 4 years or seasons, right?
Yeah, and other areas of your life are going to suffer as well. Like
Mm.
good luck, being engaged everywhere else that you need to be when you're anxious about a really hard workout. You're all twitchy. You can't sit down. You can't pay attention to your conversation that you're having with your wife. You can't pay attention to the conversation that you're having about work. Like it can detract from other things. Even if you think you have a handle on it, there's still like a little bit of your mind that's detached from uh, the present moment that you're in because you're worried about what's coming up on Tuesday. You know, um, and it's
Yeah.
good sometimes to just be like, hey, I'm gonna take I'm gonna take a step back. I'm gonna not program workouts that are super mentally taxing, and I'm gonna give myself like a little bit of wiggle to play with, and that gives me some time to kind of pour back into other areas that when we get into say January of next year, I might be kind of pulled away from because I am worried about I've got to hit all these.
Okay. So goals for the season are definitely to make it back into the Elite 15 field, I assume. I mean, you said, for those of you that don't know what that is, HYROX or for HYROX World Championships, you basically have two ways to qualify. You can qualify in your individual age group and you can qualify for the Elite 15, basically the top notch of that season. 15 athletes racing against each other at World Championships. We have basically four majors we already spoke about this season where the top three athletes that are not qualified yet are going to qualify for World Championships. You have to qualify for those majors beforehand so that you can race those. 12 athletes are going to be qualified after Glasgow in March. And then we have one last chance qualifier in Barcelona in April where basically everyone can sign up. You race against everyone else, top three athletes getting the last three spots for Worlds. So you have made it the last 3 years, 3 years,
Mhm.
4 years,
4 years, four.
last 4 years into the Elite
Yeah,
15 field. I think we are just
uh,
missing the podium spot there right now.
yeah,
Is that
yeah. That's what.
something you have to have in mind or you have in mind long term?
Yeah, I mean, it would be great to podium at Worlds. I mean, I look back at Worlds this year and I look at the shape that I was in coming into it versus how I performed. And I've kind of sat back and done the math. And normally when I've done the math on how I can do in a workout, like how I can do in a race, um, I'm never that far off. Like I had a workout a week and a half ago that I did on a Sunday and I did the math for it and I was like, I can do this. But I just had a bad day, you know? And then I missed my time by like 3 minutes. And I was like, I can do this faster than that. And then I came back, literally, I was like, all right, I know what happened. I was dehydrated. I hadn't like quite recovered enough yet. And I went in, I tried to do the workout, flew up. 36 hours later, I come back and I'm like, I'm gonna repeat that session. And I was like 2.5 minutes faster. And it was all just a product of I had done the math, I knew how fast I could go. And then one day I was there and one day I wasn't. And like the day that I was there, I wasn't even feeling 100%, but I was at 90, whereas the other day I was at 70. So that said, most of the time when I do the math on what I think I can do for a race, I'm pretty darn close. So I've looked back at Worlds and gone, all right, well, if you weren't off that day like you were, you know, could you have competed up there with the top three guys? And my answer is yes. I could have been in that mix with them. I was that fit, and I don't think that there's a question that I can get that fit again. And I just have to have a day where things line up for me. Um, and if that happens, I think that a podium spot at a world championship is possible. But I can't be just as fit as I was last year. I'm gonna have to be fitter. Every single year, the sport has gotten faster, and every single year, I'm having to get faster with it. It's not gonna slow down. It's only gonna grow. So, like, if you're top, if you're seventh in the world, and you come in next year with the same fitness as seventh in the world, you're gonna be 10th or 11th. Like, it's just gonna move. The goalposts are gonna move. So I came in with the fitness last year to I think have finished in the top three. But if I come in with that same level of fitness, I might finish in the top six. You know, so it's gonna have to be a higher level to even be able to compete, along with
Yeah,
having a good day. So
absolutely.
you gotta have a lot of things
Absolutely.
aligned. And
Absolutely.
what about
I
for
think
you?
that counts
What
for age groups, right? Age groups and the elite. But yeah, before I speak about me, just quick catch up on your training. Just with that goal in mind and that thoughts and everything you spoke about, did you change something in your training compared to last season? Or do you have the same or similar approach to level
it's
up?
it's yeah, it's a similar approach because what I've done in the past has worked with just a
Mm.
little bit of tinkering on the areas that need the most work. Like when I look at areas that I just fall short at, it's really three spots. It's the sleds and it's the wall balls. Um, and when I fail at wall balls, I fail at the shoulders. So it's been a lot more front rack work, with some heavier pressing. Um, when it comes to the sleds, It's been more box front and back squat work, just trying to get a little more strength in that area. And then also taking away the box sometimes and getting that full range of motion to also just help to work with that also kind of helps to work with the wall balls, getting out of that hole at the bottom to be a little more explosive there, to just have like a little more pop in the legs. Um, and that's slow going. I know that those are my weak areas, but the good news is like I'm strong in, five of the areas of the race, six of the areas of the race. Strong in the running, strong in five of the stations. I hold my own or I'm better than most people there. I just need to be good wall balls, sleds. And then when those line up, if I can bring those up a level, I can really save a lot of time. Um, and so I'm hoping to see that pay off. But that's been the kind of the biggest changes. A little more emphasis on the strength side, a little more emphasis on the wall ball side. Um, it seems like everything else has either maintained or gotten a little bit better in that process. So that's where we hopefully see some movement this year.
Yeah. Looking forward to see the outcome, man.
Yeah. And talking with you, I know that your training's moved a little bit. Um, and so sort of where are you lining up for your first couple of races? And then also talk about what you've done process wise to improve to where, you ran like a massive 5K PR just recently.
Yeah. I mean, season is going to kick off end of October. I'm going to do pro doubles with Marcus Funken. Looking forward to that. Just to kick off the season, to see how everything feels. I'm going to move mid-October, so I don't want to race around the time we are going to move and change countries. Um, so I said, okay, but would be good to get a race in before I jump into the first pro race that is going to happen. So that one is going to happen like a month later, end of November in Valencia, first pro race of the season, followed by Frankfurt 3 weeks later. So I try to get in 2 races in a like short time frame, peak for those ones, and see what is going to happen. Um, Hopefully, I mean, I know how competitive the sport is this season, already last season, but even more this season. But hopefully, those times are enough to make it into a major. Um, I think I just changed a lot of things in my training and in my life to make it back into like competitive situation or into a situation where I can train to be competitive again. Um, I think for sure I would love to be like back into Elite 15 a third time. But it's going to be rough, and there are like probably 50 athletes that can make it this year, for sure. So we have to see what is going to happen. I personally have like two goals as a coach, goals as an athlete. As an athlete, I want to break the 58 mark for sure until February, at least once. If it's enough for a major, I'm happy. If not, that's fine for me. And I'm going to attack the last chance qualifier. Um, I learned a lot over the last 2, 3 years, and I think I can say, okay, I haven't really used my potential as an athlete in the last years. Especially when I look back at how I approach things back in my cycling, powerlifting days to what I've done in the HYROX days and in the
Hmm.
2 seasons where I really competed. A lot of training mistakes, stupid training, but we just had fun and I really enjoyed it. But now being a bit more mature, right, in my head, I really dialed things in and just focus on the things I have to improve. We all know that I think stations are fine for me. Most of them are no issue. I have one or two of them which I had to improve, but I worked a lot on those. But I think the big issue was always the running. Um, I lost probably my 3 to 4 minutes always there. But that was really the focus over the last training block, basically since the Rimini race. Had some breaks in between due to the Redline fitness games and stuff we worked at. But right now, focus is on that. Run a big 5K PR, as you know. So happy with that. Hope to improve that till Valencia again in the next 14 weeks. And then we should be ready to go. But as you said, it's always up to your on day performance. So we never know what is going to happen in Valencia and Frankfurt. I can have the perfect day. The sled can't move. Have seen it, have felt it. But yeah, I think I'm going to be ready for that. I think those are the goals. Yeah, for me as an athlete. I think as a coach, goals for this season just to ramp up the number of athletes we bring to world championships. I mean, I think we said we want to add on 33%, getting like 70 plus athletes to worlds, getting in 10 plus podiums instead of like 7 this year. Hopefully some athletes besides us into the elite 15 fields. I think we have a good lineup of athletes that are able to do that. They know that we trust them. They trust us. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to the season, man.
Yeah, that's always like this is going to be really fun for me being my first kind of full year like as a coach, getting to bring people through the season and into goal races and then trying to hit qualifying marks and all that kind of stuff. I mean, like I'm excited. I've got a couple of athletes racing this weekend in Philadelphia for the Decafit over here, so I'm excited to see how they go. But but yeah, looking at just who we all have within like the TFM side of things, I'm excited for the potential that we have to put people up on podiums at a high level and also potentially put some athletes, including ourselves, into the Elite 15 waves. Like that would be awesome. Um, to line up and be like, oh, the TFM coaching group has across the 30, let's say the 30 athletes that are going to be on the line. What if we had like a sixth of them? What if we had like five athletes in there? That'd be sick, you
Yep.
know?
Yep.
That'd be really cool to have. So those, but is it a stretch? Absolutely. But it's good to, it's good to shoot for those
It's a
marks.
fight.
And
It's good that it is not easy, you know.
no,
We will celebrate even harder after the
yeah,
season.
yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. So with that said, you want to go ahead and hop into some of these questions?
Absolutely. I mean, I brought up the first one or two. I would say let's play a bit of ping pong. And you go.
All right. So I had one that said, why didn't David and Dylan start in the fast doubles heat at Worlds? Um, and this was from Move to Improve, and I'll say we rigged it. All right, we rigged it. We called ahead and we said, please put us in the second heat. All right, we want to be able to know what the winning time is so that we can slow roll it for the first 7.5, stations and runs, and then come into the last 50 wall balls and beat you guys. That was exactly what our plan was. And no one was able to stop us. So
What's the backstory of that? You run in a different heat than those guys run. You beat them
yeah,
at the wall balls.
yeah, yeah. So I don't really know how we ended up in Heat 2, to be honest. We were kind of confused as to why they put us there. Like we had the third fastest doubles time, ever in just like open doubles. Or was it third? Maybe it's fourth going into that. Either way, top
Mhm.
five fastest doubles time ever. Um, and we go into the weekend and they're like, all right, y'all are running in heat two. Well, David, he had been working all weekend and stuff. He didn't even know we were in a second heat. He thought that was just one heat. So he had no idea. I knew we were in a second heat. But I was just like, all right, whatever. I wasn't really paying that much attention to the times and everything of everybody else. But as we got into the last run, was when they kind of told us, hey, you're like 20 seconds behind or something like that going into the wall balls. But then they were like, the team that was ahead of you guys had like 13 no reps or something like that. Um, and so we ended up coming in 20 seconds behind them, but leaving 11 seconds ahead of them and won it from the second heat. And clearly in the line of
So
questioning, they assumed that had we been in the first heat with them, they might have beat us or found a way to beat us, and we had an advantage. I think we might have had a slight disadvantage because one of our partners, not being me, I thought David might have known. He thought we were in the lead the whole time. Like once we took the lead, he thought we were leading this. And I'm like, we gotta keep I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like, we gotta keep pushing this because I don't know how fast they went. Um and so he's like pretty shocked when they go, "You're 20 seconds behind." He's like, "What are you talking about? We're in the lead." And he's like, "No, there's another heat." And then David's like, "Oh shit, there's another heat." It's like, yeah. So I don't know if it was as much of an advantage as they thought because half of the team just didn't know what was going on. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah,
Oh, yeah. I would say,
the
Tom,
lot.
I don't want to roast you on our YouTube channel, but just sort your wall out and everything's going to be fine next Worlds.
Yeah,
And
don't get 13 no reps. You know how many no reps we had? Big old goose egg.
good
We did
guys,
100.
strong athletes. We raced them in
Yeah,
Cologne while racing with Tim, just onto the sled pull. But good racing.
but but Tom, let me tell you. Let me tell you. You're worried that you're the one that got screwed over here. The person who's gotten screwed over is me. Okay? And let me tell you why. Let me tell you why. Because they're only giving one trophy to the doubles teams. All right? And what do I see on Instagram the other day? I see David with this nice kettlebell, this nice center kettlebell, doubles men's champions. Brother, do you know who signed the team up? This fellow right here. I signed the team up. I paid for this stuff. And who gets the kettlebell? Magita gets the kettlebell. So, here's the thing. Either he's going to agree to a deal within our fantasy football team that we're going to play heads up for the kettlebell, or I'm going to have to rob his home. So, so it's really your move, David. It's either that or I'm going to have to put on a shiesty and I'm going to have to kick your door in and I'm going to have to be
Most
like,
fitted
I got to,
shorts.
yeah, yeah, in the most divorced shorts. Like, if I see Pep, I'll pull the thing. I'll be like, Pep, it's me. It's Uncle Dylan. Don't worry. It's fine. I'm just going to steal a kettlebell from your dad, okay? Just go back to sleep. It's okay. I'm going to put it down. But outside of that, Tom, you didn't really get the short end of the stick here, man. I did. Me.
Love the story. Love the story.
Um,
Amazing. Amazing,
all right.
amazing, amazing. Cool. Good.
You want to take
Next
the
one.
next one?
Next one. Yeah. What are your go-to supplements to support performance for like HYROX racing? So I think like what do you take on a daily basis? I think that's super interesting.
Well, I
What
mean,
are
like,
the two goals you need to maybe stay healthy, run faster, feel good?
so I think if we're talking, like, I mean, if we look at my supplementation routine right now, it's very heavily tailored towards me through Manly. So I'm taking
Okay.
the Manly supplement routine that's based off of my blood work. Um, and with that, I mean, it's a pretty long list of supplements that are in there. Now, if we were
Mhm.
to go like say base level, like let's take that out of the equation and just go, what are the things on a daily basis people should probably be taking for Hyrox? Of course, if it doesn't cause you any GI issues, we're looking at creatine. You're definitely going to want to be taking that. I would say somewhere around the like lower end would be like maybe 2 grams, higher end 5, like right in that range is what I
Like
would
one
say.
gram per 10 grams of kilogram body weight, probably the higher end. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I wouldn't take like for me, I wouldn't take much more than 2 or 3 grams to be honest. I'd take a low dose because my stomach doesn't do that well with it. But yeah, one thing, creatine. Another thing, I mean, people don't think of it as a supplement, but you should is caffeine. Like that you need to think about that and caffeine timing around workouts and how it should be used and how you should taper on and off of it. That would be one. Another thing I like to use is just I like a good BCAA supplement, whether or not that's going to be something that is super effective. It is effective from my sense of making me drink more. Because I don't, I'll be straight up, I don't just like water. Like I'm drinking BCAAs right now, so I use the 2-1-1 ratio BCAAs from my protein. I mix those in. And then if there's anything else. then it would probably be just to make sure that you're getting enough protein in, just like a simple whey protein of some type. So if we're looking at things that have the most scientific backing, you know, creatine, whey protein, caffeine, those three right there are probably good enough for 90% of what you might need
Mhm.
on a daily basis, supplement wise.
Yeah, I think everything else is just too different from person to person. I mean, I think everyone needs a different amount of whatever, vitamin C, right? Vitamin D, um, multivitamins, things like that. So I think best thing you always can do is to do a blood test, see where your levels are, and supplement based on that. I think the only thing maybe I would add on is, but in lead up to an event, maybe beta alanine. I think it's pretty well tested, shows good
Mhm.
results. Um, but that's really it. Yeah, I think like those 3 or 4 ones I'm using as well, besides the other stuff I need to hold my immune system together. Um, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean with the beta alanine for with that, I think that just depends on whether or not you like having an itchy face. Like some people hate the feeling beta alanine gives them. Like they take it and you're rubbing your face and shit, and they don't like it at
I
all. Like
love it. I love
Maria,
it. Loud
Maria,
music, itchy face. Let's go.
dude, she hates it. You know what the worst? All right, so you've definitely have done this before. Have you ever taken beta alanine and then sat on a bike and pedaled for a while and then stood up?
No.
You've never done that before? Okay. Be careful. Be careful. Because so if you're sitting on a bike seat, it kind of cuts off the blood flow down there.
Mm-hmm.
But then the second that you stand up out of the saddle, the blood flow run, dude, you get the weirdest tingling sensation down there, and it is not comfortable. So I would say don't take beta alanine while you're already on a bike seat. So if you're like sipping it in a pre-workout while you're pedaling, because the second it gets into your bloodstream and you stand up and blood go, no, dude, it feels like you got bees in your britches. It's not a good time.
Okay. Not going to do that. Not going to do
Yeah,
that.
these are the pro tips you
Maybe.
didn't know you needed.
Yeah. Yeah. That are the tips people are asking for.
Yeah, yeah. Somebody literally
Definitely.
asked. That was one of the questions. They're like, "How do I prevent feeling like I've sat on bees on a bike?" No, I'm just kidding.
Exactly.
Um, so
Good.
a question from my end that's kind of also playing off of the supplement stuff is, do you guys track calories? How do you know your nutrition or calorical needs? So for you, do you track calories any type of way?
No. I mean, I've done it for a while, like many times in my life. But what I always see is that I most of the time just get a drop in performance in training because my mindset just goes into a direction where I try to cut too much and lose more and more body weight. And I probably undereat because of that. Because the numbers of tracking, the numbers of calories you're burning are not always right. And when you are that detailed as I am, you get lost in those numbers and you just cut maybe too much. So I stopped doing that and just eat like based on feeling. I know like right around how much or how big my protein intake was per day. I know what I have to eat to feel good. I have like certain meals which ending up on the plate like every single day. And then I go based on feeling. So when I'm hungry, when I'm hungry, I definitely eat. When I'm hungry, I eat as well. Um, and go a bit on feeling. And that's how it's working for me. I mean, I just made a post about that on Instagram that said, okay, athletes should like focusing more on like how they perform in training on race day instead of focusing more on their body weight on the scale. Um, as you know, I am pretty vascular. Like I get a lot of veins everywhere in my body except for my stomach. And I have to accept that. Basically, I will never have the greatest six pack out of there, even when I'm super freaking lean and I have like veins on my legs, on my shoulders, on my back. The six pack is still not there. So I have to stop chasing that dream of, having the perfect six pack and just accept, okay, I'm lean overall. I am as light as I have to be. I'm comfortable. And I can hit big and fast numbers in training, and that's what it's all about. So, I mean, going a bit
Yeah.
to the side of just a macro thing right now, but yeah, make sure you perform well in training and then you fuel your body enough. Don't overdo it.
I'm kind of in the same boat as you. With I've tracked before, and I think your best. So let's say we've got somebody that's never tracked before, food and stuff. I would say do like a 3 months. Do like 3 months of actually tracking your food and seeing how much you're taking in, and just getting a beat on things, just getting an understanding for how your body responds to different caloric intake levels. But once you've done it for a while, you stop relying on it. To be honest, unless you're having to get super dialed in for and that's for like bodybuilding shows and stuff like that. Like when you're having to make weight or anything to that effect. We don't have to do that in this sport. So there's no need to really do that. So, and once you've acquainted yourself with how your body responds to certain levels of intake along with certain levels of activity, after that, you can kind of use rules of thumb just based on how you're feeling. Like I know on a daily basis about how many calories I'll eat, but that's just because I know the amount of calories that are in things. I know that like I look at stuff and I'm like, okay, I've probably had around 5,000 today, and I've trained for about 4 hours. That's gonna line up pretty well for what I need to take in. To maybe 5,000 on a 4 hour training day is a tiny bit of a deficit, but not like something crazy. But now let's say that for some reason I've been eating in what I think is, hey, this is right, but my fatigue levels are going up. I've been sleeping enough, but my training is going down. Okay, I haven't been eating enough. That's what's going on here. So if you notice that your training begins to fall off, and you shouldn't feel like, but I think I'm eating enough. Like, no, just pump a little more food in there. And if you start training better, that was the right move. And you just have to learn that over time. So if you've never done it before, track for a 3 month period. And then after that, start trusting your performance to be your guide much more than a scale or a nutrition tracking app or anything like that. Um, so that's kind of my take on it as well.
Yeah, yeah, love it, love it. Cool, good. Next one, top tips for HYROX beginners, and maybe say, let's not speak about beginners in general with like HYROX training or training overall, but maybe athletes that are coming into HYROX, that are new to the sport or maybe have done maybe some other sports, maybe not.
Let's see. So I think we would need to look at what sport they're coming from. Um, if like let's take two different athletes coming from two completely kind of different tracks. So let's take somebody who's coming from a strength and power sport. My first tip to you is going to be like the sport is 70% running. Learn how to run. Like that's going to help you more than anything. If you're coming from a strength and power sport background, start learning how to run. Start committing to the long aerobic work because that's where you're least developed at right now, but that is the majority of the sport. So go ahead and get acquainted with long, monotonous kind of training. Um, it will pay off for you. That's where you're going to get your biggest dividends from. Um, on the other side, if you've got somebody who's coming in from a sport that is maybe a little more, strength to weight ratio, or is already a very long endurance kind of grindy sort of sport, but doesn't have a whole lot of different movements involved or movements under load involved. I'm going to tell you that, okay, we need to start working on our power output, our top end strength. And then I also want you doing aerobic stuff in a non-traditional way. So you're used to running. You're very economical at running. Cool. You need to be economical at burpee broad jumps. I need you to be able to do lunges. I need you to be able to cycle a wall ball, and not have that spike your heart rate up. Because you're already very aerobically developed, but you're inefficient aerobically at other movements. So I'm gonna need you to work on those. Um, so I'm gonna take them completely opposite directions. One of you, you're gonna run more. The other one, you're about to do a lot of metcons that are not gonna involve much running, but are gonna involve a lot of the movements within and are gonna involve weights.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, agreed. I think overall, to summarize it, I think super important to just be honest to yourself, check where your strengths and weaknesses are, check where you are coming from, dial in to that direction. Um, don't waste your time in the gym. So ask yourself, is the training you're doing right now really beneficial for you, or is it just fun? Like, do you just do HYROX session after HYROX session, or do you really work on your strengths and weaknesses? And does your training has the needed quality, right? Like, do I follow a program with a progression? Do I really work on what I have to work on, or do I just do whatever is fun right now because I love like HYROX sessions? But have that in mind when you jump in there.
Yeah, and it's fine to have like a portion of your training that you do that you just enjoy, but there needs to be a time point where you say, all right, if I'm really trying to make a good run at this, I'm gonna have to do things I don't really like that much, and you just have to kind of bite into that and agree that you're gonna hate this for a while, but eventually you'll probably start to like it, because you'll see progress there. Um,
It's a fun
and
part,
you,
right? I mean, I see so many athletes coming into the coaching just hating running after 2 months, or in the first week. I'm telling them, hey, I know those sessions are hard, but I'm pretty sure in a month or two, you're going to tell me, hey, I enjoy those running sessions. And most of the time, that is happening, that athletes after 2 months say, hey, I really enjoy that. I love to go out there.
yeah, yeah, and I have a guy who's coming from a running background right now, and I've got him doing a lot of I've got him doing a lot of metcons that don't involve much running. Your aerobic side of things are going to be done on the ergs or on an assault bike or something like that. And he's told me, he's like, dude, I hate these metcons every week. And he's like, but I know that they're what are going to move the needle and it's what I need to be doing. And so I do them. And I'm like, well, at least you understand. Like, you might hate it, but you do understand. And so you do them. And so, like, when it comes time for him to race here in about 2 months, 3 months, his race will be 3 months,
Mm.
he's going to get to that station that we've been drilling the hell out of. And he's going to be like, oh, this is why we did all of that, that work. Because right now, this is not crushing me. Um, like it definitely will if I just did the things that I was good at.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's true. Work on your weaknesses,
Yeah, definitely.
or have fun, or have fun.
Or have fun. Yeah,
Up to you.
that's okay too. Like there are times to have fun, but if you're trying to be good at it, you're gonna have to work on the weaknesses. Um, a question that I've seen a lot. People have probably talked about this a lot, but like, what sport produces the best HYROX athletes?
Mhm. Can we see you?
Yeah, no, I'm a
Just
blurry
hold your
mess.
hand in
I got
front
two.
of the camera.
Come back, brother. Oh, oh, oh man, I'm
We
just gonna
have to
be
come
blurry again.
closer. You have to come closer.
Ooh.
Ah, here we go.
Oh, maybe this is great for the
Better.
audio.
Yes.
Audio. Okay, perfect.
Nice.
I'm back,
Perfect.
boy.
That was
Um,
nice. We leave that
but yeah,
in. We don't cut that. We don't cut
yeah,
that.
but
So the sport that is producing the best HYROX athletes.
yeah. I don't know if we have any statistical evidence on this. At this point,
I don't think so.
I have,
I don't think
I
so.
have like, I have my kind of like top three in my head. What do you think?
Yeah. I personally think, I mean, it depends on where their skills are and how much they are willing to work on different things. But I think triathletes can be super good HYROX athletes. Cyclists can be super good HYROX athletes. And spot three, I would say probably CrossFitters if they're willing to work on their running and lose maybe a bit of weight, or depending on how they are built. So I think each of them have the qualities you need on a high level to be a good HYROX athlete. You just have to dial in things. But I think probably the athletes coming from an endurance background, like triathletes, cyclists, have better chance to be really good at HYROX because they bring the endurance background with them already. And they mostly are pretty good runners. I mean, triathletes, obviously, they're used to compromised running. Cyclists, usually pretty good runners. They have strong legs, the leg endurance needed. And they usually do good strength work. So if they dial in there, they could be on a really good level. And then CrossFit athletes that are maybe not too heavy, not too small, can be really good if they are ready to, rock the endurance side of things. So that would be my top three, I think.
Yeah, so we've got two of the same top three. I didn't put CrossFitters in there. I put soccer players, predominantly like a midfielder. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so what I think I look for in like what makes a good HYROX athlete is somebody who has really good uh just overall endurance, but then also has this ability to put out a high power output at some point for a decent duration of time. And I think that you get that from definitely from cyclists. When I look at like tour level cyclists, particularly the sprinters, I think sprinters would actually make a good HYROX athlete, to be honest. Like, I would love to see Wout van Aert, you know, I would love to see him come
I
out and do
personally
a
think a
HYROX
good
athlete.
cyclocross cyclist could do pretty
Yeah,
well, like that in detail, because those races are basically 60 minutes long, all out. Let's go.
yeah, yeah. So I think Wout would be pretty nasty in a HYROX.
Mm-hmm.
If he started doing some specific training for it, because he's got the power output ability, he's got the lungs and the VO2 max for it. I mean, he would need some upper body development, but I think he could be really good. Then when I look at soccer players, quick burst of speed, but continual movement throughout a game. So they've got like that fast kind of twitchiness, with the slow twitchiness needed to continue to move. Um, and then yeah, triathletes, they've got the running, they've got the swimming, and they've got the biking, where that's all kind of testing the body. Um, Across the board. And what really just needs to be brought in is more specificity of training outside of just those three disciplines. Um, and I mean, when we look at the top guys right now, we've got somebody who has come from cycling. We have somebody who's come from triathlon. We've had somebody who's come from soccer. Like,
Yep.
but do we have anybody who's come from CrossFit
And on the women's side, yeah, like
on the women's
Michaela
side?
Norman. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, on the women's side, we've got one that's come from CrossFit. Lauren Kai, yeah, Lauren, I
I mean,
guess you
she
would say
competed at
Lauren.
the regional level,
Yeah,
semifinals maybe, or was it regionals back then?
yeah.
But yeah,
But I mean, it's a very different background. Like if we go through the men's side of things, we go swimmer, soccer player, rugby, triathlon, OCR. I don't know who was sixth. Is that Toby?
cyclist,
Cyclist. Then we have Graham. I don't know what Graham's background was. Uh,
throwing
yeah,
some
so
weights
like
around.
yeah, being being Scottish. That's a sport in itself.
That's a skill.
Yeah, it's a skill. That's a skill right there. But yeah, either way, like you look at the top seven guys, and every one of them has a different sporting background. Um, and then when you go to the women's side and you go break that down, you get the kind of the same thing. So we've got
Yep.
Meg, distance runner,
Mm-hmm.
was her background. We've got Lauren, who we would, I guess we have to put that in the CrossFit area. After that, we've got Linda. I don't know what Linda's background was. Do you know?
Damn it.
Being German. Linda being German. All
Being
right, cool.
German.
So being German, that's also a skill. Vivian was a swimmer. I think actually, did Vivian beat Linda at Worlds? I
Hmm.
think she might have.
Might add. I think we had Viola in the mix. Viola
Yep. Yeah, what was Viola's background? Also being German or
being
something
German.
else?
Yeah.
Being German? All right, sweet. So, yeah, so I guess we follow through there, and so maybe the best athletes are just being German, you know?
At least it's a good amount of athletes in the top five. Yeah. So it's a good sport to do before you come into HYROX.
That's
I mean,
fair. But
look at Kelly. He moved to Germany. He became good. So maybe he just worked on being German.
that's what it is. See, so hold on, tell me this. You're moving from Germany to Spain. Like, is this gonna make you a better or worse Hyrox athlete? What if you go to Spain and then all of a sudden you're bad? Like, you're real bad. Like,
I mean, I had like 27 years of practicing being German. So maybe that's just the next level or the missing piece right now, you know? I'm looking for it.
it's true. Invading another land. That's pretty German. You're stepping it up. That's what
Yep.
you're actually like, I'm leaving
Yep.
Germany to become more German.
Yep. That's the plan. That's the plan.
Oh, well,
We leave that
all
in
right.
as well.
Yeah, leave that in. Leave that in. Of course. All right. So I think it's over to you.
Yeah. Um, what are the best country to live in to be a good HYROX athlete? You already answered that.
Ooh.
Just kidding. Just kidding. Um, that's the moment you're allowed to laugh. Okay. Um,
Oh. How long you been like this?
um, how would you build up a program to perform best at Worlds 2026? So not 2025, 2026. So I
All right,
mean,
hold on.
it's unfair because you didn't had the chance to figure out that. I read that question, thought a bit about that because I also already got that question from athletes in the coaching. Um, I mean, it's a bit tricky, but I think basically you want to do, or in my eyes, the best thing you could do would be to focus on the biggest endurance buildup you can do over the next probably like 18 months combined with good strength periods here and there. But I think you just want to build that endurance base, basically what you do in off season, like what we have done now in HYROX training or back in the cycling days over 6 months. I think I personally would do that over like period of 12 to 18 months. Just increase the volume, get better at running, use the bike and HYROX for a big build up. Combine that with good strength work, get good at those two skills, running fast, moving heavy things, before you go into probably longer, like threshold and specific period after that. So I think I would start from now until like next year, December, and then start the season already. I think with that freaking big base, you should be able to basically recover better from more and more harder sessions. Um, should give you that skill at least, a better recovery, or improved recovery to handle those hard workouts. And then you can do just a massive like threshold block. I think when you look at Niels van der Poel's training, ice skater that won the Olympics, I think he did something pretty similar over a time period of 4 years, not 2 years. And I think that's a great approach for something like that. I think long term, bigger blocks than we usually do, can't end up in a pretty great result. But I think it's also super important to say, you should set maybe goals in between that hold you accountable, like half marathons, marathons, maybe also a HYROX race, right? Because if you just train for that one race, you get a qualifier before that you don't peak for, you train 2 years for that one event and something goes wrong, you will feel pretty bad. And I think we don't want to end up in that situation. Yeah.
Um, and one thing I'll say is that I think some people don't quite understand why you do huge amounts of base work. Like I think a lot of
Exactly.
times they're like why are we doing all of this long, slow stuff? And it should make sense in that you're doing all the long, slow stuff so that when I ask you to go do the hard, fast stuff, you can handle it. Like if if you like you need to create again, it's building a pyramid. You create this huge broad base so that as we begin to taper in the intensity and everything gets sharper, you know, you're going to have to be able to have this foundation up under you of movement that you can handle the build upon that. Um, because let's say, I mean, if you're used to doing just, you know, 10K, like let's say we're just used to doing 10K on a rower. And that's all you really ever did. You do 10K on a rower, 10K on a rower. And you never do like 16K or 20K. Well, if I ask you to do 16 to 20 by 500, well, by the time you're getting to the late stages of that, you're reaching the level, but you're going a lot faster when I'm asking you to do these repeats. I'm asking you to do 16 to 20 by 500 on the rower, and I'm asking you to do it at a much faster pace than you normally just row that 10K at. Well, we're getting the muscular failure way before we're getting to the point that we wanted. So I need you to build up this long term endurance background so that you're muscularly used to pulling on an erg for 20K because that's going to be the similar kind of physical taxation that you're going to get from 10K worth of intervals.
Yeah.
And I can't have you ready for 10K worth of intervals off of just easy work at a lower volume. I need you to do a shitload of volume so that when I ask you to go fast, yeah, you're going to start blowing up way earlier, but that's okay because I'm not going
Yeah.
to ask you to go for another 20K. You're not doing 20K worth of intervals, you're doing 10. So, but until we have that whole background that you can continue to hit the paces that I need you to hit at the intensities I need you to hit at a lower, like at a shorter duration, if you're going to start to piddle out 80% of the way through the workout, well, then we can't hit you with the volume that you need to be hit with at the high intensities because
Yeah.
you reach failure way earlier. So that's the whole reason for base stuff.
I think it's super interesting, right? You see so many posts on social media right now over the last 2, 3 months about do your base work, do your base work, do the easy runs, do it easy as possible, etc., etc. And there's a reason for it. But as you said, I also feel like a lot of athletes, coaches, maybe don't understand why we are doing those things. You have to have in mind when you send two athletes into the season, same physical, mental abilities, right? They have the same strength and the same running numbers, same half marathon time, same squat, same deadlift. The athlete who is going to do the most specific work during the season is probably the one who is going to win. So the athlete that can do most specific hard training is probably the one who's going to be better at the end of the season at World Championships, is going to win that thing. So you need that base and that base build-up to be able to recover better from those hard sessions in season. So then bigger your base is after the off season, then more of those specific workouts you're going to recover during your week. An athlete with a bigger base can probably do 3 of them like Dylan does. An athlete that doesn't have the base probably can just recover one of those hard sessions. And then you also have to have in mind when you look at what is going on in your body when you're in that race situation, right? We have the athletes at the start line, same abilities, running strength-wise. The athlete that can recover best from that lactate buildup and can handle lactate the best in the race situation at the end of the race or mid-race is probably the athlete who's going to win that race. So when we look at how we flush out that lactate in easy words now from our body, not our fast twitch muscle fibers are going to do that. The slow twitch muscle fibers, the mitochondria, are there for that. And you build slow twitch muscle fibers, mitochondria, with all that base work. So the more of that you do, and the better you're at that skill, the better you're going to handle that lactate in that race. So the more volume you do basically most of the year or off season, also in season, then better you're going to handle lactate, then better you're going to handle hard sessions in season. So not saying every session has to be 3-4 hours long, but if you can get in maybe like one of these at the weekend or two of them over a week, you will benefit from it a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that it's probably a solid question to end on.
Yeah,
With that being like a super outlooking question to all the way to 2026. Um, I think that we can definitely come back and answer some more over time, but right there
absolutely.
covers a lot.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we had some great questions. We have a lot of great questions on the paper still, so a lot of room and questions for next episodes. But yeah, thank you everyone for sending in the questions. If you have more questions, as I've already said it in the intro, feel free to put them below that video. We're going to answer them there. And yeah, thanks for joining us today. Dylan, any last words?
David McGee, lock your doors.
Exactly, David. We're coming for you. So thanks everyone for joining in today. Bye-bye.